Okay, there is one ticket text that we do need to read to wrap up our conversation.
That sounds good.
And then we'll talk Tiger baseball.
I got to tie a bow on this one.
Okay. My husband's eyelid was torn off from a wood splinter flying from a saw table. The surgeon used skin from his genitals to replace the eyelid. Now my husband is cockeyed. And with that, let's talk about this baseball team.
Are you giving an option? Hey, where do you want us to take the skin from? Like, that wouldn't be top of
Wouldn't
the
be
list.
your first choice, second, third.
No, but
10th,
hey, at
30th.
least your wife has a great sense of humor.
Tiger baseball. Saturday night, you may have started to panic. They were losing to the Guardians. They had blown it in extras to the Guardians. They had lost 3 in a row to the Cleveland Guardians. Yet, they end up winning the homestand. Won 4 straight. You had the Scooble start plus the sweep of the Giants. They end up further up than when they started the series against the Cleveland Guardians. And if you're someone out there waiting for the other shoe to drop, I don't think it's happening.
No, because this has proven to be a very resilient, very consistent, very gritty, determined baseball team. And maybe the best definition right now in Major League Baseball, maybe not the best team. They have the best record. And, I mean, you could obviously argue a number of other teams having more talent and more experience and bigger superstars. But it may be the best team in baseball because they're not relying – yes, they rely on Scooble. Uh-huh. They rely on Riley Green. At times, it's Kerry Carpenter. At times, it's Spencer Torkelson. At times now, it's Colt Keith.
Yep,
it's been Trey Sweeney. It's been Javier Baez.
Yep.
Like, there have been a number of individuals, even those that just have a cup of coffee. Akil Baddoo with some great catches.
In a pinch.
I mean, it's they have proven to be a team that is, one, selfless, and anyone can step up at any moment, and they've had them step up at key moments.
To what end? The superlatives are noted. To what end?
Well, the end needs to be the World Series.
I was going to ask you, is that the expectation now for this baseball team?
Yeah, it is the expectation. You adjust expectations. We came into the season and we thought they're going to be a couple below, a couple above, right around 500. We adjusted our expectations early on to say that this was not a team. I was at 80 wins. I said, okay, let's do 10 better and let's go 90 or better. I'm not going to adjust to 100 wins. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But they're on pace
for 105.
For 105.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a season where, and history shows that it can happen, that it should end in the World Series.
When you talk to people, they say, do you think they're going to the World Series? We haven't even really hit summer. Like, Memorial Day is the start of summer, and it's where people's heads are at. It's the question in everybody's mind is, yeah, I'm getting some 06 vibes. We had a guy calling earlier and say, could they win 105 games, which would be a franchise record, right? Modern record.
Right.
Everybody's mind is on World Series. They've completely swept us up and captivated us. And it's because if at any point you're waiting to see, well, this injury is going to really do them in, and how sustainable is this performance? And they just keep chugging along. Like Jackson Jobe, there's a little scary thing yesterday. The velo's down. He doesn't speak after the game. Could it be something serious? I don't know. I'm also not panicked. I didn't think they were getting a full year out of Jobe anyway. They were going to have to send him down at some point or shut him down or give him breaks and breathers. Which
they've already done.
And they've already done some of that. They have Alex Cobb eventually who's supposed to be here, right? Reese Olson's coming back eventually. Like, they just seem to always have the depth to backfill. Like, last year's team scratched and clawed, but in doing so, they built some scar tissue. Like, this team feels like they've got a real identity to them now.
Yeah, they've built up some calluses.
Yeah.
And it's a team that nothing seems to faze them. You lose 3 out of 4 to a division foe, a division rival, who knocked you out of the postseason last year. And we asked AJ Hinch about that. How does a team bounce back from that? And his answer was as good as you can have. Well, you hand the ball to Tarek Skubal. Yeah. He gets you back right. And that's what an ace is supposed to do. And he did. And then you have the San Francisco Giants They come to town. They're a team that is scratching and clawing for every win because they're trying to keep pace with who most people think is the best team in baseball, and that's the LA Dodgers. So they are looking to get any wins that they can possibly get. They are fighting for their lives in their division, and the Detroit Tigers sweep them in a series.
So our question to you guys is the question in everybody's mind. Like, will this team make the World Series? The expectation, based on what you've seen, where are you at?
I'll give you two examples. 84. Best record in the American League, and I think in Major League Baseball at that time. Okay. Yep. With into that 50-game mark.
The 50-game mark in 84, they're in first place.
And they end up obviously winning the World Series. In 2006, best record after that 50-game mark, and we know where that season ended. Now, it didn't end with the ultimate prize, but it ended in the World Series. Fast forward to 2024. Best record in baseball through the 50-game mark.
Expect to at least be in the World Series. And again, the Dodgers are a super team. I'm not telling you I'm picking the Tigers in a 7-game series.
But they don't have to beat the Dodgers to get to the World Series.
No, and the Dodgers may not be. There you don't know. I mean, but postseason baseball can be incredibly fickle. We have seen that firsthand in Detroit, where we've had loaded lineups get to the World Series and can't get a big knock. I mean, last year's team got in the postseason, had them right where we wanted them. Game 4 in Detroit. Couldn't get a big knock. Game 5, Scooble on the mound, couldn't get a big knock. It doesn't always work out your way. We know that. But this team doesn't have these giant flaws. They don't have an Achilles heel or a big weakness. And it feels like they're going to keep pushing this thing along. They should win their division. They should have home playoff games. I don't think anybody in the American League is better than them.
No. I mean, you go down the list of, division leaders. First of all, they don't have the record that the Tigers have. But then you look and you say, okay, well, the Yankees, they're first place in the AL East. Well, they beat them in a series. And you look at, is it still the Seattle Mariners? Yeah. And Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros basically tied in the AL West. And okay, you lost the series to the Astros, but you beat the Mariners. Like it is, and you knocked out the Astros in last year's postseason.
Yeah, I think the anticipation here is eventually Parker Meadows, right? And eventually you get to the deadline. They'll do something. Yeah. I mean, the question of whether it would be what we all want, right? We always want the big splash. They'll add a bullpen arm, and they may add a bat if the price is right. They've got the capital to do it. They've got these top 100 prospects. They're the best record in baseball. They're, of course, going to add at the deadline in some way. They should only reinforce your belief of what they're capable of.
And so going into the season, we thought, okay, if they could be a 500 team, can they add at the deadline? Will they add at the deadline?
Right.
And that was going to be a question. Now the expectations have not just changed for the record, for the expectations of the end of the season.
Yeah.
The expectations have changed for Scott Harris.
It's not going to be will they buy, it's what will they buy.
Right. And they should. They should go out there, and whether it's a relief pitcher, we've talked about that. Whether it's a bat, you mentioned a certain prospect yesterday, and there are going to be options for them as teams underperform, and they are looking to find ways to get better for future years. They're going to unload some of their players, which is what happens. You got sellers, you got buyers. The Tigers should definitely be buyers, and it's the adventure of getting to the end of the season. Part of that adventure and the expectations changing is for Scott Harris and the trade deadline.
How about this? This is Harvey taking his kids to school on the ticket text. Says the MLB playoffs are not a one and done. They're a series at a time. What have the Tigers done 90% of the year? Win series. In that way, they are built for postseason. The Tigers will win the World Series if we don't see Cleveland in the playoffs, from an unnamed texter.
I know that's going to be a common sentiment. They're going to play Cleveland many times throughout the course of the year. All right, they had a 4-game series. I think they play them 9 more times.
4th of July, I think, is the next stretch in Cleveland.
In Cleveland, 3-game stretch.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see if this year there is a Cleveland problem.
So the issue, Cleveland has Super Bowl pen arms that are built for the postseason. They also have a couple guys who are
just really good baseball players.
Right. In the batter's box, Quan, he finds a way to get contact and get on base. And Jose Ramirez, he does this to everybody, but he's in our division, so I feel like we get the worst of it. This guy clobbers the baseball in the postseason. He did it.
Does it all season.
Already this season against Detroit and Comerica. Tex says, I'm concerned about Riley Green. 3 hits one day, 4 strikeouts the next. He's too inconsistent. That's art in center line. Riley Green has had a hell of a month of May.
Right, but that's where I argue that this is the best team in baseball, because when Riley Green strikes out 3 times, that's when Kerry Carpenter leads off with a home run, or it's Colt Keith getting hot at the right time. It's always somebody that steps up. And sure, there's going to be days. We've seen them have days where all the bats are dead. It's a long season. You're going to have those days, but it's how do you respond to those? And the Tigers have always responded by getting the backs going again and having great pitching on the mound.
It's easy to respond when it's not one guy that has to do the responding. It's easier when you're a deeper baseball team. They're unquestionably deeper than the team that made the run last year. They weren't getting anything from Torkelson a year ago. They weren't getting anything from Baez a year ago. Their rotation was 1.5 dudes. This year, we're like, I don't know, it's at 4 or 5. Did they even have enough spots for all the arms? And then you start adding depth at the deadline. They're a much deeper baseball team. When you get to the playoffs and you have no easy outs in your lineup, or very few easy outs in your lineup, you make people work. You do the little things like first to third. That's the formula to steal games in a series. And it's why the Tigers keep winning all the series they play. So with you guys, it's a question on everybody's mind. World Series, it's 97-1.